So we're going to conclude our discussion of wireless security in this video. We've talked about the need for wireless security. We've talked about open networks and wired equivalent privacy networks, or WEP networks, which are pretty much the same thing nowadays. So let's carry on and continue with some real network security. Next, we're going to talk about Wi-Fi Protected Access, or WPA. WPA was released by the Wi-Fi Alliance in 2003 as a response to WEP being compromised. The WPA protocol came from the work being done on 802.11i, which is more widely known as the WPA2 protocol, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. You can use either the pre-shared keys like you do with WEP security, or you can use an 802.1x authentication server so that you don't have to go around to all of your corporate users and set up the pre-shared key on all of their workstations and iPads and tablets and so on and so forth. Now, whichever method you use for authentication, as far as encryption goes, WPA uses TKIP, or the Temporal Key Integrity Protocol, to ensure the security of these network keys. TKIP also rotates out the encrypted keys so that even if you capture one of the keys using a wireless sniffer, it's going to change after a while, and so you have to start this whole cracking process over again. Unfortunately, nothing lasts forever. The WPA protocol has also been compromised, just like the WEP protocol, although even with modern hardware, it's very difficult to do. The first compromise that WPA had against it was against the TKIP, or the Temporal Key Integrity Protocol. And basically, two researchers found a way to predict what the TKIP keys were going to be so that they could continue to decrypt information as it flowed across the network, even though it was authenticated and encrypted. Now again, this is not as simple as cracking a WEP network. It's not as simple as downloading an app to your smartphone and clicking the crack button. You have to put some work into it, but it is crackable. The next way that WPA has been compromised is with a service called the WPS, or the Wi-Fi Protected Setup. Now, WPS is a way that certain routers and certain devices can be configured automatically and can help you configure the clients automatically by either pushing a button or entering a PIN, or there's a few methods of doing it. And essentially, some researchers found a way to replay the WPS setup so that they could associate any wireless device with your wireless network. So, finally, as a result of WEP being cracked, the IEEE released what's called IEEE 802.11i, which is more commonly known as WPA2. In fact, outside of technical literature, as in white papers from Cisco or Motorola, I've not seen WPA2 referred to as 802.11i in quite a long time. If you go and you pick up a router off the shelf at Fry's or Best Buy or Walmart, you're going to see WPA2 encryption, and it might mention 802.11i, but most everybody recognizes WPA2. And the IEEE ratified WPA2, or 802.11i, in 2005 as the official solution to the lack of WEP security. Now, WPA2 is very similar to the WPA protocol, but there's enough differences in WPA2 that the protocol is not backwards compatible. You can't take a WPA2 client and connect it to a WPA network. As with WPA, you can use either the pre-shared keys or an authentication server if you happen to be using it in a corporate environment. However, instead of TKIP, since TKIP was compromised, they are using AES, or the Advanced Encryption Standard, to secure the keys. Also, it's important to keep in mind that even WPA2 is susceptible to that same WPS flaw that we discussed with WPA. But the protocol itself is secure for the time being, and if you must know, there probably is someone out there looking to crack WPA2, not necessarily for malicious purposes, but as part of research to determine how vulnerable is this protocol, because, if this group of researchers can do it, then this group of hackers over here in whatever nefarious hacker lair they happen to be sitting in could probably pull off the same stunt. And so you want to know that the standard that is protecting your corporate data can actually protect it well enough so that you don't have to constantly lie awake at night and wonder if all of your data is leaving out the back door of your business. That concludes our discussion of wireless security.